Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back. Man, what a journey it has been. I know I've taken a hiatus since I've done one of these videos, and we are back. If you guys have been following the channel, you know that me and my buddy Tommy have teamed up. We got a great podcast going. I got another podcast in the works coming out with a friend of mine, Gil. He runs Doughy Intentions. But right now, I just wanted to kind of bring you guys up to speed on what's been going on with me, where things are at, and as you can see, we got a new addition to the wall. We got that pro card. So last week in Pittsburgh at North Americans, I competed in both the Open and the Masters division, 35 plus, and I secured the card. And that's really all that matters. Man, it has been a journey. Like I said, if you guys have been following the channel, you know that it's been years in the making. 8 years on and off that I've been competing. I've taken, a year break here, 2-year breaks there. But my first competition was actually about 8 years ago yesterday. They just did Battle for the Eagle, which was the first show that I ever did. So shout out to everybody that did that. My buddy Jared Wagner, he got the W. So congratulations to you, brother. You earned it. You deserve it. And we're about to go grab some sushi soon. But I wanted to talk to you guys about what kind of led up to this point. After USA's a couple years ago, which I documented, we fell short by one placing. I took third out of a stacked class of 22. And in that particular show, the top two get their cards. And it was really hard for me to hang my hat on the showing that I had. The judges' feedback was to come in tighter. And when my coach and I spoke, Skip Hill going into it, the thought was to come in a little bit fuller. And he asked me, how do you want to play this? And I said, well, they seem to be rewarding size a little bit more. So let's push for that. And we did. And we brought a great look. However, it wasn't the look that they were looking for that day. And over the last year or so, Tyler Mannion has done a great job of really explaining what the division is looking for, the way that it's going, and with the new weight cap that's in the IFBB, and I'm sure will soon make its way down to the NPC, what they really want to see in athletes that are stepping on stage for the men's physique division. So about 8 months ago, my wife and I were out on a date day actually. We chatted. And she said, I think if you want to do one more, I'm okay with it. And I was ecstatic. For me, it's always family first. And if she says she needs me for the family, I'm there. And this is a sport that if you haven't been in it for a long time, it is very difficult, near impossible, almost, to create balance. And as much as you try to have it, you get to a certain point in prep where you have to be all in. And it's very tough to do everything. And I do my best. I really do try. And my wife's an amazing person. And we talked and she said, hey, if you want to do this, this is what I need from you. And so we dug in. I called Skip. I said, hey, let's roll. We got one more and let's go out on top. So 14 weeks was about the prep that we did. We needed to do, because I took a year off, I needed to do a show to requalify. So I did the Tangi Johnson, which is an amazing show for anybody that's in the Northwest. I highly recommend it. I can't speak well enough about her and Dom, who both do shows in Oregon and Washington. Amazing shows. Now that I've done shows as far as the East Coast and pretty much everywhere in between, I can honestly say that the Northwest runs some of the best shows that I've ever seen. So shout out to all the Northwest promoters, Rybic Productions, Dom, Tangi. You guys are awesome. So we did the Tangi. I took the first and overall in Masters. We depleted hard going into that show. Every other show that I've done leading into it, it's always been pull as far as carbs, a little bit of water. We always keep water in. I've never had water completely pulled. And fill out either the night before or the morning of. Tangi was a little bit different because we tried a different process. Usually I would fill on like a burger and fries or something a little bit more unconventional, I guess you could say. Even though it's all things that within like the loads that my body's used to, so it's not like we're throwing a curveball at it, but kept it a little bit cleaner. It was peanut butter, rice, ground beef, and some avocado. And we loaded on a couple of meals of that the night before and the day of, and we brought a really good look. The look that I had stepping on stage, I was really happy with, but we knew it had to be a little bit better. So the biggest thing for me is keeping my waist tight. Now, I don't get my waist doesn't blow out by any means, but as my body fills out as a whole, the waist tends to just not stay as tight as it could. So the game plan going to North Americans was to keep the waist as tight as possible. And I think at one point, the Chula shorts that I ordered were 30s. And at one point they were hanging off me, even at the show. My waist was down to about 27 and a half, 28. So going into North Americans, the biggest difference and the biggest change was how the peak process was implemented. Again, in the past, it would be pull, 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 and then towards the end it would fill. Skip brought an entirely different approach, and I gotta say, I had full trust in him, but because it was so different than anything that I had ever gone through with him before, in the back of my mind, I just remember thinking, shit. Is this going to work? And again, full trust. And the biggest thing was just trusting the process. And that's with any competitor. You have to trust your coach. You have to trust the process. And so as I did that, the week of, we actually pulled cardio back a few days sooner than we normally would. And then we started adding carbs in a lot sooner than we normally would. I think 4 days out, we were pushing 160, like 250, so almost doubled the carb intake. And then 3 days before the show, so as we got closer, it got up to almost 400 grams of carbs. And then the last day or two, we pulled carbs back and then manipulated water and sodium just enough. And I remember coming out of the bedroom, and my buddy Mark, who came to Pittsburgh with me, my wife couldn't make it. She stayed back to make sure that the kids were off to school at a good start. She works. And so it just wasn't in the cards. But Mark came with me, and I'll never forget, he was laying on the couch. He goes, "How we looking?" And I walked out the morning of the show, and he turns around and he goes, "Holy shit." Actually, I walked out and he just goes, "Ha." And that's when I knew. So we didn't manipulate water much, just pulled back a little bit. That was the other thing that I think really kind of just held back, was pulling water really hard. Not super aggressive, but harder than we had this time, along with manipulating the carbs, just gave my body a different look. So by keeping some of the water in, staying more hydrated, I was able to tighten up and still keep a full look. So the morning of, it was basically just keep your stomach as empty as possible. So I think from 5 a.m. when I got up until the time I stepped off stage at about 11 p.m., I had all of 5 rice cakes. In between judging and finals, I had about 70 grams of cream of rice and 3 ounces of turkey. And it was just enough to keep me satiated for the next like 5 or 6 hours. But when you get into that headspace of I'm here to win and I'm here for a purpose, I honestly didn't get that hungry. And it was an incredible feeling to stand on stage. When I first walked out in prejudging, I felt like I was holding poses really well. I was hitting everything really well. I happened to just walk out where my placement was at the time. There was about 12 guys, and I was in the first lineup walking out right in the middle, and they started moving people around me. And I didn't move at all. So I remember coming off stage, and to me, I got back to the pump up room, and a lot of the guys were like, "How'd it go? What are you thinking? What's it looking like?" I said, "Well, they moved a couple of guys around me," and they're like, "Oh, you got it." So I told them, I'm not saying anything until I'm holding that card in my hand. Went home, took a nap, just relaxed, went out for finals, and man, they called 5th place, 4th place, 3rd place. And then they said 2nd place. I was 253, and they said number 223. And I remember looking down at my button and looking back up, and I was like, I got it. And it was just it was almost weird. It was a rush of different emotions. It was almost like a numbness. I was excited, I don't want to say I expected to win, but I went there thinking there is no plan B. So I have to win this. And I kept telling myself, I'm going to come back with my card. I'm going to come back with my card. And I was excited, but it wasn't like an excitement jump up and down. It was almost just like a release of pressure, like something I'd been working so hard for, so diligently for. I'd given up so much of time and, you know, things with friends and family, and it finally paid off, and to say that it was all worth it. And the biggest thing for me now that I have it, is rekindling all of those flames, making more time for my family, for my friends. I actually just got back from a really good lunch from one of my best friends. He was like, "Hey, I want to take you out, congratulate you," basically a brother to me. And he said one of the best things that just really helped me out. He said, "Look, I understand that there were things you had to miss. There were times that you had, you couldn't stay out late with us. And I get that. It was for a goal. You weren't doing it just to do it. You had something in mind, and we support you 100%. And to see you be able to follow this all the way through, we feel like we won too." And so that meant a lot to me. My wife was super happy. The boys were super happy. And so it was an amazing feeling. And it's still a week later, hasn't fully set in. I mean, it kind of is, but it's almost like an imposter syndrome. Like I'm telling myself, I've been trying this for so long. Do I hang it up? And to push through and then get it right there on basically what I told my wife for now would be the end of it, was just a rush of emotions. So that was a really cool experience. After the show, it was a lot of craziness. First thing I ate was an apple. And I've talked about this in a couple other videos. Like, my mindset has changed so much from just like crushing all the food that I want to eat to replenishing my body with the nutrients that it actually needs. And there's a video that Tommy and I talked about, on how to not blow your prep in a night. And one of the things is giving your body what it needs, which is micronutrients. And so I'm eating this apple as I'm holding my card. There's other guys backstage munching down Pop-Tarts and all sorts of stuff because they're done. And I just remember saying, "This is the best damn apple I ever had." And they all started laughing as I held my card up. Wild string of events that night. Finally got to bed at like 1 a.m. By the time I got home, got some food, I ended up just eating pretty much same stuff I would have had on prep, because everything in Pittsburgh closes at like 9 o'clock. So we just went to the store in between judging and pre-judging and finals. I picked up some ground beef. I made burger bowls. So ground beef, rice, avocado, peanut butter, and lettuce. I'm telling you right now, it's amazing. Don't knock it till you try it. Even out of prep, I still enjoy that. So we had that. I'm in bed about 1:30. I got to be back for a photo shoot at 6 a.m. And a truck hits a power line or a power pole right outside of our house, our Airbnb, blows the transformer. We have no power. Luckily, I had put some food in the freezer because I was leaving the next day after the photo shoot. But I was waking up every 30 minutes checking my watch. My phone was half dead because I had been at the venue, and so I hadn't got a chance to fully charge. And so I'm waking up. Luckily, my watch was on the charger all day because I didn't need it. And I'm waking up, checking my watch. Finally, 6 a.m. rolls around. I make it back to the venue. Photo shoot goes well. We come back. We're getting everything together in the dark. Power's still off. Had to toss all the food with the exception of what little bit I put in the freezer. So I was able to at least bring that along. So I had food for the trip. But at the end of the day, flight got delayed 5 hours, almost completely canceled. Ended up getting home at midnight, and I was supposed to get back at like 8 o'clock. So it was just a wild string of events. And as I'm sitting there with my friend Mark, again, basically a brother to me, at one point we're sitting there, he goes, "You know what makes this all okay?" And I looked over at him. I knew exactly what he was going to say. I said, "The fact that that I'm walking away with my card." He just goes, "Yeah." And it would have been a completely different trip had it gone south. So that's kind of where we're at now. From where we go from here, I don't know. But I hope you guys keep following the channel. The goal is to continue putting out more and more content for you, both training, lifestyle, the cookie reviews, all sorts of good stuff. So thank you, everyone, for following along on this journey, and I will catch you on the next one.